Hello, everyone. Welcome to our webinar. I am your host, Geraldine. We're thrilled to have you with us today for an exciting session on developing a winning accessibility testing strategy for your apps. So before we dive in, let's cover some housekeeping rules. Your lines are currently muted, but feel free to submit your questions during the webinar using the chat option that you find at the bottom of your screen, and we'll address them in the Q&A section at the end. And also please note that this webinar is being recorded and we'll send out the link of the recording later so that you can have a watch again or share it with your friends or colleagues. Now, a quick introduction about pCloudy. Next slide, please. pCloudy is a cloud-based testing platform offering 5,000 plus real devices and browser combinations for mobile and web app testing. Key features of pCloudy include continuous testing, DevOps, advanced automation, AI-based visual testing, self-healing, real-time test analytics, and much more. So with integration with popular testing frameworks and tools and round-the-clock premium support, pCloudy is trusted by 300K plus registered users, right from small businesses to large enterprises. We have Shoaib Ahmed, Manager Pre-Sales at pCloudy as a speaker for the day. Shoaib has around 11 plus years of experience in the IT industry. Prior to his role at pCloudy, he has worked with Micro Focus as pre-sales consultant for application delivery management portfolio, catering to technologies such as DevOps, automation, performance, cloud, and mobility. So without any further ado, let me hand it over to our speaker, Shoaib.
Well, thank you so much, Jordan, for that introduction. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining and taking your valuable time in attending this session. So let's get started. So today's webinar is more around the accessibility testing, the importance of accessibility, why accessibility is really important in today's time. So for the next 45 to 50 minutes, I'll try to cover the accessibility need and the importance of accessibility in today's software testing lifecycle, and then followed by a quick demonstration. All right, so that would be the agenda. And if in case if you guys have any queries, feel free to put your queries in the chat, and we will answer your queries at the end of this session. All right, so without further delay, let me just get started. So when we talk about accessibility, so let's understand what accessibility testing all about is. So accessibility testing is that makes sure that the websites that are made to be usable by all the users, regardless of any impairments or even disabilities they may have. So it makes it possible for people with impairments to browse and navigate the website without being limited by issues. So it's very important that the application goes through thorough accessibility testing so that make sure that the application is accessible by all. So let's try and understand what are all the various different various different visual impairments, right? When we talk about the disabilities. So there are a few that we have categorized. I'll just try to read out. So first is the vision. So it could be a complete or partial blindness, or even color blindness for that matter, or any other issues that is leading to visual impairments. And then physically, when we talk about physically, maybe users may have difficulty in using the keyboard or the mouse or even any other physical tools that commonly used with a computer or even with the mobile phones. And the next impairment is on the intellectual side, where the learning difficulties or even poor memory sometimes. So these are some of them, and also literacy. So when you talk about literacy, difficulty in terms of reading or also even the comprehension of the websites. And then hearing. So hearing is also one of the disabilities. Could be an auditory problems that leads to complete or even partial deafness or other hearing impairments. So let's try to see what accessibility does. So accessibility testing not only makes your website usable by all the people with the disabilities, but it also helps your products to comply with the industry regulations. We will see in the various different regulations. So this slide basically talks about the various different accessibility testing benefits. What happens to your website when it is thoroughly tested with accessibilities? So this diagram displays various benefits of accessibility testing, such as increased market reach, a better user experience, and also the legal risk will be very much reduced. So here are some of the stats, right? So when we talk about from the business standpoint, 71% leave the website if the application is not accessible. So there is a huge impact on the business, right, which is leading to the impact the businesses of that particular website. And not just that, when we talk about inclusivity, right, so make sure it is usable by all the people with different disabilities. So when we see the stats, 1 in 6 people need accessibility. So there you see, so the ratio is very quite small here, but the impact could be very huge. So we have to make sure that the accessibility testing has to be ensured at every level of testing. And further, when we talk about the enhancing the user experience, 51.4 errors per page, that is impacting again the user experience of it. So user experience is very important. So we have to make sure that that the application has been tested thoroughly for the user experience. And as I said, legal compliance. So it's very important to adhere to all the various different lawsuits that are in place, especially like ADA, which is nothing but the American Disabilities Act. So let's take a look at the various different compliances for the accessibility standards, right? The first one is the ADA, which is nothing but uh, American Disability Act. Then we have Section 508 and also the WCAG compliance. So we will look into detail what are these various different compliances and standards that needs to be followed. So let's begin with the ADA compliance. So what is ADA? So as I mentioned, ADA compliance is basically it refers to the Americans with Disability Act standards for accessibility design, which states that all the electronic and information technology like websites or even the applications, right, must be accessible to people with all the disabilities. And when we talk about the ADA compliance, who needs to follow? Who needs to follow? So organizations that need to adhere to the ADA compliance include state and local government agencies, business open to the public. Also, when we talk about the some of the other common examples that are affected, with the businesses, it includes retail stores, banks, hotels, hospitals, doctor offices, restaurants, and even movie theaters. So these are the various different businesses that gets affected if the application is not comply to the ADA compliance. So since ADA encompasses more on the electronic and also the information technology like the internets and also the website, so ADA compliances impacts almost all the businesses and webmasters. So in most of the cases, sites are even in case of designs, so that aren't intentionally ignoring ADA requirements. So that's about ADA compliance. And next, we talk about the 508 compliance. So what is it all about? Say, right. So when we talk about 508 compliance, so it's basically, again, it's a section which is a part of the United States Workforce Rehabilitation Act of 1943. So which is basically a set of requirements and guidelines, again, that is set to be followed to ensure that the information that is accessible to individuals with the disabilities requirements, federal agencies to make their information technology accessible to people with disabilities. So who needs to be compliant? Again, various different sections. Almost every section falls under this category. So we have just highlighted here some of the what are the various different aspects, right? So when we talk about the first option, which is nothing but the captions or even the transcripts. So captions and transcripts are basically used to represent the spoken content from audios and also videos, right? So as a written text. So what is basically the difference between the captions and the transcription? So a transcript is basically a text version of the content that is presented in a separate, could be a document, right? While the captions appear simultaneously with the spoken words. So you might have seen on the various different video channels, could be on the YouTube side or any other application. So that's the captions and transcriptions. And then when we talk about the keyboard, so this makes it it makes it possible for your visitors to navigate the platform with the help of keyboard. So we have to ensure that the application is accessible through the keyboard as well, and make each website element right through the keyboard as well. So it's very important to adhere to all the keyboard navigations. And then the screen readers, of course. So when building, any website or a mobile applications, so the developers, what we have to keep in mind is the screen reader capability, right? So that which makes it possible to access the platforms with screen reader. So it will be very helpful for people with visual impairments or any individual who has screen readers to read the website content aloud. And then we have alt text for images. I think so. This is again the same as the alt text for images. Alt text for images and alt text for videos pretty much refers to same here. So basically, it refers to the images or where we add alternative descriptions to the videos, or in case of images, right? So to let the screen readers describe the video, again for the people with impairments, they can easily read out. And then color and contrast, again, it's a very important part. So the color and contrasts are essential for the accessible elements. You can use smart colors. For one, you can use the red colors to highlight an error, in the contact form, or green one to show that, everything was entered correctly. And so we have to make sure that the application is compliant to all the various different color and contrast. And yeah, and lastly, the timeouts. There should be any timeout. So we have to be very careful in seeing whether if the application has no timeout limit. So that's the 508 complaints. And then the very important last one is the WCAG compliance and its various different levels. So what is this all about, right? So when we talk about WCAG, so these are against the guidelines that are categorized into various different confirmation levels. WCAG is nothing but Web Content Accessible Guidelines, right? And the latest version that is released is 2.1. So it has various different levels again. So as you can see on the screen, A represents, so this is must have. So this is the most basic level of compliance in the WCAG, right? Because it sets a minimum level of accessibility, and it does not achieve broad accessibility for many situations. Next is level AA, which is basically a mid-range and most common level of conformance to obtain. So level AA is recommended conformance for all the web-based information. Okay, and the last one is level AAA. This is the highest and also the hardest level of confirmation to obtain. It is not recommended to strive for full AAA compliance, as it is not possible to satisfy all the AAA success criteria for some content. So let's so the website has to be compliant to all these three different compliance which we just spoke about. We spoke about ADA, there is a section 508, and lastly it's WCAG. So these are some of the principles of WCAG in practice. So have to make sure that the application is perceivable in terms of making the information visible and easy to access. So here are some key points, right? It talks about the text alternate for non-text content, captions, alternatives for the multimedia, which we've just seen. And then the content has also to be presented in various different ways so that people with different visual impairments are easily capable of reading the element on the screen. And then whatever the content that is presented, it should be easy to use and also easy to hear. Right? So that's the first principle of WCAG, which has set the standard. And then operable. So whatever content that is presented, again, it should be easy to operate. Right, so when we talk about from the functionality side, even from the keyboard, so the application should be able to access from the keyboard easily without having many issues, and even the user should be allowed to have enough time so that they can read the content properly and use the content. Right? And when we talk about the other various physical reactions, so the content should not does not concise cause the seizures and any physical reactions to it. So we have to make sure that the content follows as per the applicable process. And then the users can use different input modality beyond keywords. It's not just keywords, but users should be allowed to use various different input modalities, either even through a mouse or any other external that is connected to the machine. And it should be very understandable. The content should be very easily understandable by all. Inclusivity means it should be understandable by all. So make sure the text or whatever the content that is displayed, could be a video or could be an audio, it should be easily understandable so that users help to avoid any other mistakes. And the last but not least is the robust, which is very important again. So the content should be very much robust enough to be interpreted by different user agents, again with the different technologies. So we may have to make sure that the application is compatible with the various different technology with current and also with the future user tools. So these are some of the principles that are led by the WCAG principles. And very soon we will have 2.2, which is already in place. We have a draft version of it, but it's not yet released to the market. So these are various different sections. And now let's try and understand from the accessibility for testing, on the real devices and could be even on the browser-based applications. So accessibility testing should basically verify the website or the application conforms to, at least the WCAG 2.1 that we have just read, and also the level that we have seen. So verifying that the website or application meets the success criteria and is a great way to provide a better digital services for all the users. So like any QA, right? Any QA test. So accessibility test also should be given equal importance. And so it is very important part of your testing, so that we make sure that this is done as part of the test coverage using various OS analysis tools. Could be a good way to enable the QA teams to check whether if their website, should be the website or even the application at the programming level to improve the test coverage. And additionally, it is a key to consider the testing mobile applications or web applications across multiple devices, right? So to properly test the website or application accessibility, we can consider using at least 4 or 5 devices. Could be from the iPhone with the latest iOS version, smartphones with the latest Android again with OS versions, iPads again on the latest iOS version, and then 1 or 2 maybe could be other combinations of Android tablet or even with the smartphone with the previous and the latest version. All right. And when we talk about the shift left approach, how important it is, right? So this this slide basically shows you the level of what is the investment that it takes, right? So while we do the shift left for most of our SDLC process, so it very well starts with from the backlog to the design and coding and even testing. So what happens if we do not follow the accessibility testing during this phase? The investment would be very large, as you can see, right? So once the application is deployed to the production, you'll see a huge investment. So it's always better to begin with the, as the SDLC lifecycle starts. So we have to make sure, at least in the design phase, the various different aspects of accessibility should be looked in, so that there will be a minimum cost, and and also make sure the application is tested thoroughly. Again, this is from DIG systems, so that we have been taken. All right. So that's pretty much it. Now, when we talk about the various different scenarios, whether it can be automated or it can be manually tested, some can be manually tested, right? Like that you see on the right hand side, you can check for the various different contrast of various different gradients or images. You can see the accuracy of images, right? And also the UI view hierarchy, how the UI of the hierarchy looks like. So how we can implement for manual testing? Just by adding the extensions in the browsers, we can pretty much perform the manual test for various different scenarios that are mentioned here. And also not just that, you can also automate. right? Everything, whatever you do manual testing, it's again a time consuming effort, right? So in order to quickly highlight the violations, the application, right? Whether it's a mobile based applications or even if it is a website, right? So these scenarios can be automated and some of them are again highlighted here. So we will look into detail. I'll show you a detailed demo which talks about how you can implement the accessibility code within your within your automation testing. So so here's a quick snippet of it, how pCloudy helps in accessibility testing for your mobile-based applications as well as the website. So we have, we have integrated with Xcore library, which again, it's a third-party application, which helps in providing you know, the accessibility testing of an application. So here is a quick snippet. I've just incorporated within my slide. So where we will be adding the Xcore library from the website and adding this in my existing project, right? And then adding a piece of a code within my existing project. APM could be an APM or even from the Selenium standpoint. And yeah, so this is how the result will look like. So once you execute your script on your mobile application or even on the website, after you execute, you will see a list of violations in case if the application doesn't comply. So this can quickly spot if there are any violations. So you can see various different violations here. So the results can be in two different formats, one in the JSON format and also in the XML format. So the first one, if you read out, it talks about the the buttons must have a discernible text. Right. So what does this mean? So the buttons which are available on the application, it should be having a discernible text. Since it does not have a discernible text, it is highlighting here properly, and also it gives you an URL, detailed URL, so you can visit this website and get to understand about the violation and how you can come out of this error. So this is just one, and within this issue, again, there are multiple small issues, right? Like different elements within these buttons. There's A, B, C, and also it will suggest which are all the elements that you need to fix. Okay, so that's the snippet. Now let's get into a demo. I can see showcase how the demo platform looks like. So let me sign in the platform. All right, so this is the public cloud instance of the pCloudy, device.pcloudy.com. So if you are a new user, you can quickly sign up to our platform by providing your user registration details, or you can also sign in with Google and also single sign-on. So let me sign in to the product. I'll just quickly show how the product looks like, maybe for the benefit of all the users who are at least first time seeing the product. So it's a quick landing page where we have various different options. So pCloudy supports not just mobile devices, but also real browser machines. They could be Mac or even Windows, right, for testing your website's application. And automation, we do support various different automation tools from the open source community. Open source side, we support APM, Selenium. We also support Espresso, XUI test, and so on. Right. So that's the platform. Now we will get into an automation side. We will see how you can implement the accessibility testing within your existing APM scripts. All right. So when we talk about APM, again, APM is a framework agnostic tool. You can pretty much use your own frameworks for creating your scripts, right, with different languages. These are the various different prerequisites. You can upload your app to the cloud drive. Could be in the form of IPA for iOS and APK for Android, right? Into the cloud drive. My data is basically a drive. It's a place where you upload all your app, right? So either you do it manually or using your APIs, using the APIs that we provide, and then we add all the relevant integration code that is required. So in case if you have your own code available ready, you can use it. Otherwise, you can use our sample scripts that are available on a GitHub location, and then add the relevant capabilities to the to your existing script, so that you achieve the integration part. And then finally, last, we have the run and test view results. So you can execute your existing APM scripts on pCloudy platform from not just for functionality purpose, but also from accessibility testing standpoint. So this demo is more focused on the accessibility. I just thought I'll just give a quick glimpse of support what we do. Now let's get into the APM side. So I'm using APM Eclipse IDE as an APM client. You may pretty much use your own IDEs, be it Android Studio or even Visual Studio for that matter, right? And here are some of the sample projects that we already have it on the GitHub location. In case if you want to visit, you can just visit the pCloudy sample projects, and you'll be routed to the appropriate link where you can download and you can get started. So this is for one of the this is for the mobile web application use case, where we are trying to hit the URL. Particularly, maybe it could be a any e-commerce application or any application. In this example, we are trying to access an e-commerce app and see whether if this website has any violations. Okay, and we are opening this in the Chrome website, Chrome browser. Okay, and these are the basic capabilities which you can add it. So which is required to configure and also to integrate. Again, these capabilities can be configured directly from our platform itself. So we have some capabilities directly which you can incorporate. There is a utilities section within the platform, and you can get into the capabilities tab. So you can configure the capabilities depending on your need, whether if it's Android or iOS, automation type, whether if it's for browser testing or app testing. You can enable the logs, performance data, video, so that you get all these metrics within your reports. Select the device locations. Our data centers are spread across different locations in India, US, Singapore as well. And protocol, in case if you want to run it on the latest W3C, or you can also opt for the legacy. You keep it for W3C here, and then APM versions in case if you want to choose. And then on which device you're going to execute this scenario, right? So you either go with device full name or you can go with manufacturer and the version. If I go with device full name, I can see the list of devices that are there, and along with the status, I can select any of them and then provide the duration for how long my script will get executed. So duration you can provide in minutes. So you can, so this is basically you can calculate from your local test execution. So if your local test execution is taking 15 minutes, maybe you can keep some buffer time of 10 minutes. So there is no harm keeping the upper limit here. So just provide the duration and generate capabilities. So once you click on generate capabilities, the capabilities are generated, which you can see on the right hand side, which you can further edit or simply copy the code. All right. So once you copy this code, you are now good to use these capabilities within your existing APM script. All right. So here is the capabilities. All right. And then I'm just trying to access a specific URL here on a Chrome browser. Okay, so let's see if this particular website falls or adheres to the various different compliances, or if it has some violations to it. Okay, and also make sure you add a command that is provided by us. So it's available on our documentation page. So you make sure you add this code within your script, existing scripts. Okay, so this will launch the browser application on a Chrome browser, and it will see if there are any violations on that screen, and it will highlight in the result section. Okay, so that's the second part, and then the third part is, of course, we are quitting the driver, right? So there's no functionality test that we are performing. It's just that validating whether if the website follows the all the WCAG standards. Okay, so as a prerequisite, you must import all the Xcore libraries here, right? If you can see it on the towards the left, which I'm just highlighting. So this is again available on the website. So we have provided the relevant links. So you make sure you import this Xcore library. So that's the prerequisite, and then you are good to execute, right? So this is for a mobile-based application. So I'm using device manufacturer here, okay, as a capability from Samsung. So it will pick up any Samsung device which has the device version of 11. All right. Or you may simply use any in case if you want to use the device full name. In case if you want to execute on a specific device, you can just do it. But make sure that this particular device is available. The rest of the standard capabilities will remain as is. All right. So now let me execute this and show how the execution takes place. Just go to run as and trigger the test. So once I trigger the test, the execution will begin. Yeah, here is a console. You can see all the errors and warnings. Also, you can go to pCloudy platform and get into the My Active session. So you'll start seeing the My Active session. So My Active session is optional, but this will help you in case if you're debugging your application, right? So now you can see the one device has already come from Samsung. So it has taken a Samsung Galaxy A10, right? So progress has begun. So let me just click on quick action live view. Yeah, the device has been successfully connected. Yeah, the driver is just getting initialized. So once the driver gets initialized, the browser will launch, and then the application will be launched, and see if there are any violations on that particular page. Okay, here we go. Yeah, the browser has been launched. Yeah, it tried accessing the app. Yeah, flipkart.com. Yeah. So once the test gets completed, the device will get automatically released from the pCloudy standpoint. Yeah, you can see some failures here. Okay, now, so let's see what are the failures. Right. So now you see the various different. Um, so the website, there are various different violations from this particular website. Correct. So you can just scroll up and see these violations. Let me just get this up. Okay, so here are the violations. So it found around 8 accessibility violations. So the first one is the elements must have sufficient color contrast. So it says the few elements are not as per the industry standards, right? So it is not matching the color standards. So you can further copy this URL in case if you want, and then you can just open the browser and understand the various different elements, and then within this there are sub issues, sub violations again. There are multiple issues again, various different issues. So you can scroll down one by one, and you can see it. And then the next violation is image must have alternate text. So there is no alternate text for this particular image, right? Again, you can copy this URL, and then just you can verify it by going into a website and see what is this violations. So yeah, let me just copy it once again. Yeah, so it says text elements must have sufficient color contrast against the background. So what is the success criteria? So this will give you what is the success criteria that it needs to be matched, right? All the background elements. So these are the standards, and these are the various color contrast that it is suggesting. So you can recommend, you can browse these. This is provided from the DAKE systems, which provides all the algorithm. So once this is completed, you can analyze further. Okay, so this is for the mobile web application which we just ran. Okay, and again the test results are available. You can again visit the test output here. You can see the test ngxml in case if you want to verify it, right? You can just get into the test ngxml report, and then you can see again the report in the test ngml format as well, right? So this will highlight clearly. Similarly, if you want to test it on over the website on the different machines, so we do have support for the website testing as well for the accessibility. Since pCloudy has support for the real Mac and Windows machine, so you can leverage to test your website, right? Again, so I'm using a Windows OS here with an OS version of 10, and providing a suitable browser version which is required. So these are again the standard capabilities which you can get it from the pCloudy platform, provide the end URL, and again try to access the same application. Again, this is on the Chrome. browser. So this will launch on a specific machine, and you will be able to see all the violations if there are any from the browser cloud standpoint, right? And you will be able to see the results just like how we did for mobile. So yeah, let me quickly show you the browser sections. These are various different real-time browsers. So yeah, any of the based on the configurations that you have provided within your script, the script will pick up the device if it's available on the cloud, and yeah, the browser will be in launched and along with your application, and this will go for a scan, right? It will do a quick scan and see if there are any violations, and then it'll start recommending if there are any violations for that website. So that's pretty much it from the accessibility part of testing. So now you should be in a position to understand what accessibility testing is, what are the various different standard compliances that are set, right, and how you can integrate right with your existing APM script so that you can execute quickly, do a test, and then execute it over the platform, right? So I just showed it for the automation test part, but even for the manual testing, in case if you want to do a manual test, you can add the browser extensions within the browsers, and then you will be able to test it. That is very straightforward, which is there on my production. So that's pretty much it. So if you guys have any questions, you can please feel free to shoot your questions.
Thanks, Shoaib, for that insightful presentation. So now it's time to move to the Q&A section. Audience, if you have any questions, feel free to mention them on the chat box. We'll take it up. Here's a question for you, Shoaib. So will the test results and test output update after every run?
All right, a very good question. So yes, of course, after every run, right, once you execute your test, the test output folder will get updated accordingly. So the one which I am highlighting it right now. So once you rerun your test again, this will update accordingly so that you will have a relevant results, right, in the form of test in GXML, or even various different failed options that you can directly see it in the test output. Hope that answers your question.
Okay. Here's another question from Shoaib, who has asked how priority is set.
How priority is set? Yeah, all right. A very good question, right? So again, this depends on the from the your organization goals standpoint for for your application releases, how you do it, right? So if you're talking about from the accessibility standpoint, it is very important right from the start, as I showed in one of the slides, which talks about the shift left concept, right? So we are more focused on the functional part of testing, right? So we start as and when the cycle starts off. So while we collaborate with our developers, we test parallel at the same time, right? From the functional standpoint. Now it is very equally important that we test for the accessibility part as well. So setting priority depends again on the test lead or the test managers of that particular project. How does it want to set, and then test it accordingly. Right. So it all depends on projects to projects and the lead of it. So, but overall, when we talk about the importance of accessibility, it has to be done very much from the beginning of the test. Yeah, hope I've answered your question.
Okay. Here's another question for you. Will there be any possible solution for the violations that we face?
Sorry, come again, Jeroen.
Are there any possible solutions for the violations that we face?
Absolutely, yes, there are. So as I just showed on the over the so after running my test, I can quickly get into the the violations list here. So within the results, you can just scroll down, look for the various different violations. So there is an URL that is provided, right? So which you can copy for the issue, for the particular issue, and then you can probably open this on a browser, and this will give you a detailed reporting. I'm not sure if you noticed that. Yeah. So this will give a detailed guidelines on how to overcome the violations. So these are possible solutions, and it will also suggest what needs to be corrected for that particular issue. Right. So it's pretty much there. You can follow this over the website just by copying the URL and opening it up in the browser. So this will help you understand how you can overcome the violation.
Okay. Here's one more question for you. So disability guidelines are different for countries. It differs from countries to countries, right?
Okay, a very good question again. See, as per the industry standards right now, there are few guidelines which are set commonly for all the global global community. Right, so it does refer, maybe could be from a different continent or a different country. There could be a separate guidelines altogether, but it is always better to follow the global guidelines that is set. So when we talk about WCAG guidelines, which is not specific to a specified country, but it targets to a worldwide community, right? And it has been certified. And also when we talk about ADA, ADA is nothing but it's American Disability Act. It's not just focused for the American continent, but also throughout the world it has been followed. But they give more emphasis for the American country. So it is always advisable to follow the worldwide compliance or the guidelines that is set, right? So that we adhere to the policies and also the guidelines that is set, so that our applications are thoroughly tested with the context and also the various different aspects of the accessibility part.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So here's one more question for you. So is it also possible to test video streaming?
Video streaming, I mean, from the platform specific point, pCloudy, I mean, it can be, I mean, depends on, again, use case to case basis, right? So if you're just in general, if you're talking about test the video streaming, maybe could be a video, right? So the functionality part of it, you can certainly test, right? From the pCloudy's standpoint of perspective, if you're able to achieve it over the local devices or the local website, even you can pretty much do it on the browsers as well. With the accessibility testing, including accessibility test, you can still perform, but there can be certain limitations to it. Right, so those limitations have to be noticed or maybe done separately. Could be manually on your physical handheld device or even on the on the browser machines that you're trying. But in general, if you're talking about testing the video streaming of your application of any apps, so you from the functionality and accessibility part, yes, of course you can test.
Okay. Here's another question for you. So what is the percentage of issues that are covered with automation testing?
All right, very interesting question again. See, it all depends. There is no specific percentage, right, which can give you the, these issues are covered with the automation testing. Of course, the purpose of automation here is to speed up or identify the bugs, more frequently. Now the releases are happening quite often. Right, the releases every day we are releasing, every hour, in fact every minute, every second we have releases, we have deployments. So how are we making sure the application has been tested thoroughly? So automation is the key solution for it, right? So you do a continuous testing process, we by using various different approaches, could be a DevOps model, even through agile. So percentage we cannot really we cannot really specify what percentage of issues, but automation is one of the key aspects of testing. When we talk about, not everything can be done manually because it takes a lot of time, there is a lot of resources, and also the release times are faster. So in order to help automation is something which is very crucial, which should be adopted, but there is no percentage as such which can give you a number, right? Yeah. Hope I answered your question.
Here's another question from,
Your voice.
Sorry, I hope I'm audible.
Yeah, come again, Geraldine. There's little network issues, I believe. Yeah, come again. Okay, I see the questions. Not sure your voice is not coming properly, but that's okay. I mean, I see some of the other questions as well. I can just quickly take this up. So it says, do we require a license for using this, or is it free? Okay, so if you're talking about pCloudy standpoint, from the pCloudy standpoint, it is of course a licensed product, but we do provide trial free license for you, right? For you to do a quick evaluation, especially around the mobile testing standpoint. So if you want to do a quick evaluation of the product, you can just visit pcloudy.com and visit our website, right? And register yourself, and you will have some free minutes to it. Or you may also reach out to our team who can help you provide the evaluation license. And we do not charge for anything additional, like even for the accessibility, it's free of cost. So if you have a license of pCloudy, that is sufficient, right? And you'll be able to test your applications on various different devices and combinations that you want to achieve. Yeah, I would request you to visit pcloudy.com, and you can raise a request. We can help you provide a license for you. Okay, all right. Next question. Is there any sitemap feature available in pCloudy? That is entire website URL. Check if possible. Okay. URL check. Yeah, I mean, again, if this is part of accessibility testing, if you're talking about, yes. Again, you need to add the browser extensions to the browser. So there are browser extensions that are available for the accessibility testing. We have published in our documentation and detailed how you can add the browser extensions. And once you add, you just launch the application, and then you get all the violations of your page, of that particular page. So it will give you from page by page, from one screen to another screen. So you can get the violations of various different products. So you can get it. Yeah, so that is possible. So just visit our pCloudy documentation. We have detailed analysis.
All right. So I think we've answered all the questions that have come in so far. For a minute or more, see if audiences have any more questions for us.
Sure. Okay, so there is one more question. I'm not sure about the name, but yeah, he says recently I called with the DAKE team, where they have explained about their product Axe, which is an automated testing tool for accessibility. Okay, you're right. So they are claiming that it will find around 84% of the accessibility issues. So what are your thoughts on this? Do you think it is possible? All right. This is, as you know, that Dake team, they are very rich in terms of providing the feature on the accessibility testing, and almost all the issues, right? So they say 84%. Of course, I would say if you use the tool properly and effectively, the number goes higher. Not just 84%, even more than that. But it all depends on the usability of the tool. So how effectively you use the accessibility testing tools, understand various different aspects of it, right? Use it in the right way so that the issues can be identified. Few issues, of course, cannot be identified through X, which can be sometimes, you have to do it manually, right? like I just provided over the slide. So these issues, some issues can be identified manually, right, which you can yourself test it while your application has been built. So yeah, my answer to this is, if you are using the tool effectively, making proper use of various different objects and elements, then you can certainly identify the issues of the accessibility. Hope answers your question. Okay, one more question. Can you please provide the accessibility testing process? All right, I can share across the documents. Can directly, you can reach out. So let me put this up on the. Just visit the link I'm just providing here. I've just provided over the link here. There's a link, just try to follow. All right, any further questions? Are we good to conclude?
Not sure, but I think we don't have any more questions from the audience. But audience, if you have any more questions, feel free to reach out to us directly via LinkedIn or email. We love, you can drop them after that recording of webinar over email. So feel free to watch it again or share it with your friends and colleagues. And if you have any more questions, you can even reply on that email and we'll answer them. Thanks for being with us today. Have an awesome day, and we'll see you in our next event. Thank you.
Thank you so much, guys. Bye.